MoteCon Day 2. This is Katie McNamara. Over to you, Katie.
Thank you. Okay, so here we are for this awesomeness here. More voice, more clarity, more community, more belonging. Like, that's a lot of important stuff, but like, we got this one little tool that'll really bang all that out. So I'm going to show you just like little hacks because we have so much on our plate already. I don't need more on my plate. Like, no. Just show me how to do what I need to do easier and give me back some time, because I like to eat and not just, scarf it all in 2 bites. Although my son, he's really, really good at that. Okay, but I chew my food. Okay, so how does voice build community? I want to go ahead and just start there. And if you could even just dump in the chat so we can learn from each other too. Give me some ideas, what you think about with this question. How does voice build community? Give us a couple minutes and you can keep on going there. I know everyone's connectivity works at different speeds. Okay, hi Sarah, so glad you could join us. Okay, Alex is here, super cool. Okay, so voice shares community, builds community because we're just like natural storytellers. And you'll hear a lot from like any type of edu conference you might be at, or even if you get into big business, they always come back to that story. Share a story. Well, how do you do that? Well, you get talking. And anytime we're typing, even if you're a fast typer, I'm an even faster talker, right? So you're going to get like more information out and more details and more excitement. And like even my voice right now, do I sound like I'm happy to be here and sharing things with you guys or not? Yeah, there is a right answer to that one. Exactly. So getting involved, getting that enthusiasm, all of that jazz, rocking and rolling. I get to know my people. I get to know their reflections. And then you just like start to feel more interconnected with each other once you have voice. Okay, so these things are like never going to go away. Just because we're in person doesn't mean we don't need feel-good check-ins. Like wellness is a thing forever, not just during a pandemic. You can go ahead and jump into this side chat there and give me your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of how you're rocking and rolling right this moment. And that's all I do. Like, I am not going to explain. I'm not going to describe these to anyone. Well, unless I had a learner that was visually impaired, then of course I would provide alt text for them. But I like not describing it because people see different things. And whatever they're seeing, I need to go ahead and honor that. And a couple of these, they even have multiple people in them. So maybe you're one of them, maybe you're other one. Okay. So I'm seeing a 4. Have some more. Okay, I'm on a smaller screen watching the chat and a 1. Okay, so I got at least a couple different things. And that's all great. Okay, so I know I got a 1. I know I got a 4. What does that tell me? Like really? Is that really information that I can work on and move forward with? Because even looking at number 1 and 4, I'm not sure if it's good, if it's bad, if it's somewhere in between. So here's where the extra magic comes in. If this is, it could be shared privately. It could also be shared as a collaborative slide deck. Wherever you're feeling, you go ahead and add me a note to give me your explanation. So now your voice is coming in there and the explanation, I don't have to guess. I don't have to try to figure out how you're feeling in connection with that. You're telling me. And then I won't be able to mess it up because you know you better than anyone else. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit already. I'm probably going to be really repetitive with this whole concept because that's the way you learn and remember is through story. And I just had my kids do stories yesterday. Do you want to hear about that? Of course you do. Okay, so kicking off the school year, which was a little like rough for me for several reasons. And then Mote dropped new stuff over summer. Didn't tell me that they were going to do that. That's okay. That's another conversation. But I wanted to also have updates for that for you guys today. Anyway, going back to this story, we're playing with the Play-Doh and I just give them the direction. Okay, you need to create something that represents you. Doesn't really matter like what it is and just that, what represents you. So they're a little like weird at first. Like, what do you mean? Especially like I'm in high school and like high school doesn't mean we're not kids anymore or that we shouldn't be creative and play. School should be fun. Otherwise, I'm not going to be there anymore. Okay, so my students go ahead and create, and it takes them like 7-ish minutes. I'm still checking in on them. At their different groups, they're allowed to talk to each other, but they are not allowed to talk about what they are creating. Okay, then after everyone has it done, they go ahead and explain what they created, because maybe it really isn't a rhinoceros. It just looks like one right now. So I'm never going to like say what their art is. They just go ahead and share what they did, like why they did it. And a conversation just naturally starts to happen. People start seeing connections and they'll share that on their own without any extra push from me at all. We just hear the stories like, oh, like I like that too, or oh, this happened to me, or oh, I see it similar like this, or maybe you should try this, or oh, like someone likes cookies and baking. Like, are you going to make some and bring me some? All of these different entities that are going on. And then I have the rest of the group has to ask them collectively at least 2 questions. So not everyone has to ask a question, but I want at least 2 questions. And the creator always has the option of saying, I appreciate the question, but I don't feel comfortable answering that right now. Will you please ask me another one? So totally honoring the ask and the denial and respecting everyone, building that culture right from the beginning, helping us get to that sense of belonging as well. Okay, so we take turns. Everyone in their group does that. And there's just like these warm feel goods. I don't tell them this. You know what we do the next day? Next day we come in, and if John and I were in a group together, I'm going to go ahead and tell John's story about what he created the day before. And that is where the big power comes in. So now John is hearing that someone else cared enough to listen to their story and remember it. Okay. So then John also has the opportunity, in case like my brain doesn't remember an important detail, to go ahead and fill in those blanks. So we still have this conversation going on. And it's all good and fun, but you want to get like the geeky edu connection with it. Anything that we create, those visuals and that story is what helps us remember it. So my students created the visual, and then we have the story, and then we have that extra like kindness going on with telling someone else's story. And that's going to ride with them all the way through with everything they create in my class, whether it's 2D, if it's 3D, if it's an infographic, if it's a video, using those visuals and being mindful of embedding a story in there to help people remember what we're discussing. Okay, all of this stuff going on, getting that passion. Paper can just be boring. Or how many times have you heard like, oh, my intent didn't really come across properly in that email? Yeah, it happens all the times. And of course, it's going to happen with our students as well. So giving them the voice goes ahead and like really helps clarify things so much. Okay, and they're telling us like what matters, building in that empathy because we're getting to know each other. It's really hard to sing without telling stories. Sometimes it's a swirl, like, when I was telling the complaints that Mote didn't let me know immediately that they were doing an update. That's fine. It's still a little story, still getting an extra little bit. And that TLDR thing is so, so true. And you work with colleagues and you know who they are, but don't blast them on social media. They won't read past one sentence. They just like won't. So, like, even one of my friends at work, like I sent her a text message answering what she wanted. Then she comes into me and asks the question again, like, honey, you gotta read. She's like, but I just don't. But we love that voice and having that extra connection as well. And it just, super cool. Not that I'm saying we shouldn't like read. Like there's a place for books, like those audiobooks are super cool. And that's still reading. That's reading with your ears. Okay, so getting into some other like little, not like little, but getting into some examples here too. So a basic thing that I liked doing that is really like not basic because it takes up 80% of high school standards, just generating questions, and asking the questions. So we get to that, but first we have to like come backwards a little bit about just the facts and being able to separate facts from opinion. That gets really hard. And I don't understand why it's as difficult as it is at first grade as it is at 12th grade, but it's real. Okay, the struggle. So really helping them break that down. If I let them tell me vocally, I get more. If we're writing this down, I might get 2 things. Give them the chance to voice it. Now I want to get 10 plus and really getting into those details. So then Mote also gives us a way to increase that accessibility and bring more people into the conversation. Okay. And another bonus with Mote, did any of y'all talk fast? Is it just me? Okay. So I am doing speech to text messages all the time. And I have to like remind myself, okay, talk like a robot because I really don't back on my little keyboard to like correct the words and all of that jazz. Mote loves fast talkers. Like I never have to go back and edit what I'm saying. I do have to go back and like fix punctuation because that's still important for me. Yeah, because where that comma goes, that matters. So I'll fix that bit. But fast talkers, we're all good there. So getting more stuff in when we have the voice, having that fun. And then it's also hearing yourself. Okay. You're learning that way as well. So, and I know I'm not alone. I know at least one other person does this because we talk about it on the regular. When you're talking to someone, whether it's a friend, whether it's your partner, and you're just talking things out and you're asking them questions, but we're not really like hitting the pause for them to respond. And then as we keep on talking to them and trying to figure out whatever this thing is, we wind up figuring out the answer. Like it was in there, but it was like back a little bit. That's the power of voice, even for ourselves. As we're listening to ourselves, we'll get some more going on in our mind, those dendrites, extra connecting. But even if the person doesn't talk, it's because like we didn't let them talk. Think that. I am thanking my husband all the time for helping me figure something out when he said nothing. Just getting tons of kudos there. Okay. So this is like super fun. I'm so excited to be using this year. This is just a template, and you guys all have my deck, so you can make a copy of it. If you want to keep my voice, great. If not, use your own. You want to use your own colors, go for. Obviously, I have an affinity for purple. Okay. So this is a basically template, and this is what I love about doing directions as well. Kids, adults, they're not going to read a paragraph or two about directions. It's just not going to happen. And then those directions are usually a bit dry. Okay. They don't have that voice, that like excitement that's going on. So here I have the template, and then what's going on in here as well with my notes are the like directions and extra explanation of what this is for. So the students can just go in here and you can see right away like how long it is, click their play, and they'll hear pieces of what's going on there. And I have captions on my computer. I'm going to click that off. Okay. So that's going to let us know like what we're starting with. I want them to have that narrowed focus, have those questions of what they're going to go spend their research on. Okay. This is the body. I probably should go back there and put, no, I don't want to do body. Okay. See, talking out loud, I'm answering my own questions. It's powerful. Okay. And why I don't want to put body there is because that makes a direct correlation usually to essay writing still. And this could be for anything. So I taught English for 16 years and writing process. I'm totally on board with that, everything. But I think it's time to stop calling it the writing process. It's the creating process. Whatever you're doing, if it's a video, if it's a sculpture, if I'm making a new recipe, like there's pre-planning going on. There's some thinking happening before I go ahead and get started. And then I go ahead. Okay, so let's go back to the cooking analogy. I'm going to go ahead and have my outline about what I want to do to make sure I have the stuff so I can make it. It's like, okay, these are the important items that I have to make sure are included. That'll be my ingredients. And then my rough draft. Okay, sometimes things aren't great the first time. And you go ahead and you edit, you refine, and then you try again, see if you like it that way. And peer feedback is always, always essential. My peer feedback are my boys and my husband usually. Sometimes it's lucky to be the people at school, but I really don't like giving them my first drafts, because if they don't like it, I'm a baker, so I've got like some standards to maintain up there. Okay, so going through that, and then I get to like my final, like, okay, this is it. Like so many people perfected recipes over COVID. My big recipe I perfected is snickerdoodle muffin. And tell you, it's amazing, amazing. Okay, so my rationale, that's what I decided to title it there because I didn't want to say the word thesis in print because like in print it seems like so like official and final and in stone, but if you listen to the note there, I do bring in the thesis concept because that's going to be a connection. So it's okay to make these connections like, oh, this is like that or this is like that, but it doesn't have to be that exact same word. So you need to have that overarching bigger like why. We got the why to start with our questions, but this is like that going to be the call to action, your little elevator pitch, your first line that's going to like get people to be intrigued and want to know what's coming next. Okay. And there's no numbers here because these two could happen any order, but we do have to like have some questions rocking so we can start research. Extra bonus here on the slide is as I have these 3 different pieces. And you can listen to them. I'm totally snarky. These are just like examples for us too. And this is the kind of stuff I would share with my students. I don't want to make something that's like super fabulous because it sets a bar for them. So I never ever give them a super fabulous example coming from me. But on the slide, they can maneuver these around. So our ideas don't always come to us in a linear fashion. So it becomes manipulative too for the students, and they can like decide what order. So this becomes like a storyboard that they can just go ahead and move around. And then want some double bonus with this idea? Like, of course you do. Okay, so on the playground slide, which you're not seeing because I'm full screen, and that's what I'm calling it. It has an official term, but I like playground. Okay, and I'm Google Innovator so I can make up words, right? Okay, so outside of that square, you have these 2 boxes. Okay, and those are on the side there. So you got the to-do. You're not seeing the mote. I added the mote after I did the screenshot. Apologies there. Okay, but I'm still like explaining what to do there. So that's a spot for them to have their checklist, and then they have the choice if they want to type it out or they want to go ahead and mote it. And then help, I have in there like why to use this section and explaining some stuff there too. This is for them to like say what they need help on. And then there's extra direction there. Like if you want help from me, go ahead and tag me if you want help from a peer, if you want help from this other person, this friend that you know that is an expert on yada yada, you can go ahead and tag them so they'll get that information right away. If you don't know the person, that's okay too. Like this is just like something that I need, totally fine there. And then on the other side there, I took another screenshot just so you can see what it looks like. So when you do your mote, you can go back and add the comments, and then it will be there too. So I can go in there and know like exactly where it is. Okay, yes, this is for me. I need to go ahead and take care of this for this kiddo. So super, super powerful. Students are owning their learning, telling me what they need help with, because that's much more important than me saying what they need help with. And really like across the grades, they all need help reading, writing, thinking. So like, let's move on. Let's just help them do all those things so they can create and inspire and have fun. Okay, so when you're looking at your mote, though, a few things I want to draw attention to. I think most of our presenters showed you like the ins and outs with it, like how to do the recording, how to get that translation. But there's a couple of other things that are super, super essential as well. So the first one we've got what it looks like with the basic recording. And that's just me being me. I was struggling with Google Classroom for a little bit because there was an update, but I got it handled. Okay, so you're seeing that. So being raw right here, this is something I just did. So this is exactly what it looks like. So you do your recording. You can see at the bottom, you've got the translation option as well, the star option, little 14-second guy. But there's that pencil, like click on these things. Okay, that's for you to edit. Use that feature, like really look at it, because if your kid is going, or a student, whomever is going to go ahead and look at the transcript for assistance, it needs to be the correct words. It needs to be spelled correctly. And I promise you, it will not do, it won't take up that much time, because if y'all haven't noticed, I do tend to talk fast. So recordings are also cool there. You can go back. So big word they missed there was eek. Okay, Mote didn't know what eek was. They did like etc. Not a big deal. Go ahead and fix that real easy peasy. And then the other thing, which is like essential life skill 101 everywhere. And no like true confessions right now, but I know all of you in your drive, you have untitled documents. For shame. Okay, title everything. So you see how it has untitled Mote? That is not helpful, especially when I'm going to go back and look for my data, see things. I'm going to have to open it and play it and figure out what I was talking about to see if I need to follow up with students or not. Nope. Save your time, title it right away. You got that title, bam. Now your data will always make sense. Okay, title everything. Sure, you've got a few options and you've seen this all before, but here it is in one spot. Embed codes, those are always cool too. You got the link option, QR code. If you're like, but I don't want to use that one, I use QR Tune. Fine, take your link over there. Make the QR. If you want a QR code, use whatever makes you warm and fuzzy. If you want to use Mote, use your Mote. You are good to go. And see that classroom button? Okay, so y'all, true confessions here. I wind up working with 3 different LMSs Yes, that is my life. I love using Google Classroom for this Mote functionality. It saves my wrists, helps me connect with my students so much quicker, and the understanding is just it's brilliant. It is truly game changer for myself as well as for my students. Okay, so we've been looking at this stuff, just showing it again here. So that pencil, make sure you saw it as well. There it is. Should you go ahead and do your edits? And this is the new thing. And this is like a game changer. So excited. So I forgive Mote for not like asking my permission, having that conversation early. Okay. So in Google Classroom, you're going to see Mote loops. It says beta. It's still working pretty good. Okay. You got to make sure it's clicked on. I don't remember if I had to click it, but like you can look at the box. It won't be purple if it's not clicked. Go ahead and click it there. And you can go ahead and see the transcript there as well. And then here's the magic over here on the side. I can see that I sent it, but my student hasn't responded yet. And I can see not only just has she not responded, but she also just hasn't seen it. So, that makes the difference. Being left unread, that's a problem. But like I can tell that did not happen here. My student just hasn't seen it quite yet. Okay, so we're good there. So here's what it looks like after they've seen it. So the Mote loop gives you the Moteness that you can share. That awesome. And I wanted to share this too. Use their names. So I always start off when I'm giving feedback, having those conversations. People like to hear their names. And it's a great way to show respect too. So hi, Roxy, starting that way. You saw Farah's before, but this one happens to be Roxy. And yes, I know it says Roxanne. She goes by Roxy. We're close like that. Okay, so on the other side here, I have her response. Okay, and this is really neat too. So there's option for the students to tell you if they need help on it or if they know what to do. So they're going to go ahead and assess themselves and then provide the response. Super powerful too. Okay, so knowing their comfort level, if they really think they've got it, that's also really key information for me as a teacher. Okay, so I'm getting nervous about time, even though I'm talking fast. Okay, so this, you can go ahead and click on it. Things are hyperlinked like crazy for more awesome. I love using visual literacy to introduce anything new. So I was covering a topic with the California fires. This connects to a deck that has tons of images. Students are to generate questions because that's a big thing. We're just working on generating questions. Think about your setup in your class. Do you have an icon for your classroom? Is there something really particular with your decorations? Butterfly is me. So what I've got over here, I have this butterfly, and you see that? Like I have it set out to be connected to Mote. So that can be a visual for my students too. Anytime you see this, and I'm personalizing it, okay? There's going to be a piece of directions. Go ahead and listen to that, and it's going to give you more goodness, okay? So the way to do that, I have my image, and then I added my Mote. Like, but I can't see the Mote, and your butterfly see-through. I know that's why I grabbed that kind of butterfly for y'all. You can make the Mote circle thing be transparent. Bam. Wow. So you can have it however you want decorated, okay? So if you want to do those visual cues, if you've got groups and maybe they have team names for themselves, maybe they've created a special logo or whatnot, you could have their logos and have that be the hyperlink for directions for each of your different teams. Okay, so going on here too, I want to hear their voices. I want them really, really thinking. Our first, second ideas are usually pretty easy and maybe not that like fabulous. Same thing when we're thinking like, okay, so if you've ever had to sort something once, easy. You try to sort that same thing 5 times, it gets a little bit more difficult. That's a really good like hands-on thing to do to help people when they're grouping how other people might see things. Okay, so looking at which one doesn't belong, we're going to rack it up to higher level. We're leveling up here. Okay, so they have to go through and give me a Mote for each one, telling me why that one doesn't belong. Not just why, let's say they picked number 4. Fine, that's easy. But can they tell me also why number 1 and number 2 and also might not belong? Getting that critical thinking, really building that up, because that's what I want. I want them thinking, right? That's kind of important. Okay, so we don't have time for this, but there's a collaborative slide deck. If you want to go in there and add to it, it's just super easy. Another way to build community. And this group, we had flamingo as an icon. So I've got that there with my directions. See, just bring in those little connections that help in and help everyone. Go in there, have your little image of whatever makes you warm and fuzzy inside, and then add a mode explaining, because just because you gave me something that does this basic, like that why matters, especially when that why is the story of you. Because I don't want just like 50 pictures of cats, although I do stock Catter Day on Saturdays when I need to pick me up. But I want to know why. Why is this important to you? Because each person that I engage with, I really value, and I want to get to know them more. So those of you that don't know me, oh my God. Okay, these are my babies, and like this is just this summer. Yes, and no, they're not on a couch. They're really on just a small love seat. They're just ginormous. 21 and 16. My oldest works out of state and came home to surprise me for my birthday. And I just like love this because they're still both still are interconnected. They're 5 years apart, but look at the smiles and they're laughing. I think they were tearing up my love seat too, but that's okay. Still made me happy. Happy mama heart. Okay. Gosh, I'm running out of time, John. Okay, he hasn't kicked me out. Okay, so all of this.
You've still got a couple of minutes, Katie. You've still got a couple of minutes. You're all good.
Thank you. Getting into that why, we hear that all the time. There's books and presentations and seminars that people have made millions of dollars about explaining their why. Let our kids have that opportunity. And I say kids a lot. I have some of my kids, as John mentioned, I also teach at the university. They're older than me. I don't care. They're my babies. I want to get to know them. I get protective and all of that jazz too. So letting them explain to you the importance and their why, it is beyond powerful. Those of you that have done teacher student journals, adding that mote element is a game changer. If you don't know what this is, you can Google it. I'm so sorry, we can't get into that right now. Last piece that I want to hit home about why that title is so important is, again, to make your life easier. Remember, I mentioned that at the beginning of this, like, we don't need to add more on our plate. Like, okay, how can I manage what's here and feel like I've taken something off? Okay. So this is why we do that title thing. See where it says in Google Slides? That means I'm not a good moter. It just means that, I created this mote in Google Slides. That tells me nothing. Guess how many motes I've created in Google Slides? So that is like irrelevant information. I've got to title it, or none of my data matters here. It will tell you who's listened to it, who hasn't, all of that jazz. So your resharing needs that title. Okay. And here's another big thing that helps you with this, and it's all connected. That's why it's my one last thing, your communication plan. If you haven't made one yet, please take the time to do it whatever way works for you. For me, a Google Sheet made sense. If you want to steal this template, totally go for that. So I've got I'm going to focus on the mote one. So there's a few different items, but I have my mote at the ready. So anytime a student is absent for 3 days, I will go ahead and just grab that mote and send it to them, because this is what you do. You don't say like, oh, John, I noticed you haven't done blah, blah, blah that was due at such and such a date and you've been out. Now so separate. There's times where like using the name and all that is super, super important, but this is for my quick communication with parents and that student that I need to have at the ready to go to do those quick check-ins, okay? When it's for that purpose, I want to remove that specificity. Okay, so I'm not using a name. I'm not using an exact date. I might say, I'll go ahead and give you a week extension, okay, because that doesn't give me an exact date. But now I can use those links a million trillion times if I want to, okay? The bottom one there, I want to highlight that too, even though there's not a link, because that one will never be one I can just use all the time. Okay, because their peers are different. So I got a kiddo that's out. We gather around and do one mote and send that out to them. And that's also building that community and all of that jazz. So thank you.